This Independence Day, President Trump promises to make America great again with his pick for the Supreme Court. Congressman Jim Jordan answers reporters' questions about whether he knew about sexual abuse claims against a teen doctor at The Ohio State University. And we're checking in on your health care with a look at how the Trump administration is working to change Obamacare. This is Special Report. Happy 4th of July and welcome to Washington. I'm John Scott in for Brett Baer tonight. On this day that we celebrate our freedom, many are concerned about how President Trump's pick to sit on the Supreme Court will affect theirs. President Trump isn't talking about it today, instead celebrating Independence Day with military families at the White House. That's where we also find correspondent Rich Edson. Good evening, Rich.
Good evening, John. And hamburgers, hot dogs, and the Marine Corps band. The president just kicked off military families picnic here on the South Lawn of the White House. The president honoring each branch of service here on the South Lawn. And this is all ahead of tonight's fireworks show over the nation's capital. 242 years of independence, and the 45th president commemorates the first.
General George Washington and his army of brave patriots fought a long, tough war with the British to win America's freedom. Today, as we celebrate the 4th of July with friends and family, let us never forget that our freedom has been earned through the blood and sweat and sacrifice of American heroes.
President Trump began celebrations last evening, speaking at a salute to service dinner in West Virginia, after a day of interviewing finalists to replace retiring Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy, his second high court selection.
We hit a home run there, and we're going to hit a home run here. And step by step, we are making America great again.
Administration officials say the president has, over the past few days, interviewed 7 candidates. He says he'll announce his decision Monday.
The people, united, will never be defeated.
Liberal groups are already planning opposition to the yet selected nominee, calling for protests at senators' offices, warning a Trump appointee would mean major changes to laws governing health care and abortion. The White House says the president is evaluating candidates' overall judicial philosophy. Officials are already devising their strategy to navigate the president's nominee, whoever it is, through a narrowly divided U.S. Senate. Shortly after the president's announcement, leaders from countries in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization meet in Brussels. The president continues criticizing countries that spend less than the NATO target of 2% of their economies on defense. That's the majority of NATO members. And one major European power is now promising to spend more.
Compared to what others do in relation to their gross domestic product, it is not sufficient what we spend, and that's why we have committed ourselves to increase our defense budget to up to 1.5% of our gross domestic product by 2025.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will meet up in Brussels with President Trump. First, the secretary travels to Pyongyang, his third known trip to the North Korean capital. Officials stress there are still significant negotiations ahead with North Korea on how it would dismantle its nuclear program, how the U.S. would verify that, and what North Korea would receive in return. There are concerns North Korea will continue a secret program, and this Kim Jong-un charm offensive is a ploy to get the U.S. to withdraw from the Korean peninsula. The State Department says the administration understands the risks in dealing with North Korea. After the NATO summit, President Trump is scheduled to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The United States and Russia are at odds over several issues, including a violation of the ceasefire in southwest Syria by Russia, Russia's continued backing of the Assad regime, and its seizure of Crimea a few years ago. John?
Rich Edson at the White House tonight. Rich, thank you. An icon of